Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This weekend we have a return to the Apex in a very, very Apexy main event. Of course, I am talking about Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier taking on yet another contender, looking to move up the ranks and build a name of a veteran, someone who's been at the top of the sport in Jared Cannonier. So, really interesting main event. Another situation where Jared Cannonier, like I said, they seem to be just using his name and profile now. Someone who has fought at the top, challenged for the middleweight title, had some great performances, at the top end of the rankings. But like everyone is aging in their career, the skills have started to regress, to diminish a little bit, and the UFC are just so brutal and cutthroat about feeding guys like that to the wolves. We've seen it, Imavov, Bahalio, and now Rodrigues. Like, you just gotta give that opportunity to the next up-and-comer. Otherwise, you just leave the sport. And those are the two options, it seems like, unless you're a celebrity, like Jared Cannonier. Yes, he is loved by fans, has, like I said, produced some really, really great moments in that UFC octagon, but not at the sort of star level to dictate matchups, and that's clear to see here. He is obviously a guy who does not say no, and yeah, this is what we're getting because of it. A really, really scary matchup for Jared Cannonier against a massive middleweight. Gregory Rodrigues, Robocop. I know he's been starched once in the UFC, but like, the guy is so scary. Just an absolute brute force in there. Really, really good grappling. Like, that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, strength, control always has been there. But the guy is just such a kill or be killed fighter. And is adding the striking. Like, he just loves creating car crashes. Has gotten a lot of good wins because of that. And, in this matchup as well, like, I just don't know if Jared Cannonier's skills and where he's at physically is going to be able to keep off such a powerhouse, such an athletic freak in Gregory Rodrigues, because I would say technique-wise, skill for skill, apart from the grappling, Cannonier has all the tools on the feet, but someone who relied on athleticism, a lot, like a big, powerful, strong guy coming all the way down from heavyweight. It's just that time, I think, unfortunately. And I just don't know if physically he's going to be able to hold off that firepower from Rodrigues, because the guy is so athletic, so powerful, and just continues to go. Like, has a great motor as well. And like the wheel, what we were talking about, he's kill or be killed, That could present an opportunity here offensively for Cannonier, but he's just looked very flat in the last few performances offensively, that I really struggle to see him pulling out a win here. But let me know what you guys think, because if this matchup was happening 2 years ago, it would be the complete reverse situation, but a fight like this wouldn't necessarily be happening 2 years ago. This is that perfect blueprint the UFC loves to use of build that young and up-and-coming fighter of a named veteran who's starting to regress in their career, and all people remember on the record is that name. For Gregory Rodrigues to pick up a name like this on his record would be a great thing, so I can see why the UFC is doing it, not only to boost Rodrigues, but to test where he's at as well. It sucks that we have to see Cannonier, such a fan favorite, continually be in a spot like this, but regardless, I think two massive middleweights, it's going to be a really, really fun fight. I wonder if Gregory Rodrigues is going to go the safe route and try and get this thing to the ground, because he's got nasty, nasty ground and pound. And like I said, that control from the top positions, he's a massive guy and he knows how to, manage that weight and spread it on the ground. He must be so heavy on top because, he does a really, really good job of just holding people, making him create bad moments for themselves, which opens up ground and pound or submissions for him. So he's got a pretty scary presence in there. Very, very tough. We've seen, remember that fight against Chitty Bang Bang, that cut that was opened up like above his eye? He had a third eye in that one, man, and grinded through to turn the tables and get the finish of his own with that ground and pound, like I said. So I think this is the perfect time for Gregory Rodrigues to be getting a fight like Cannonier. And on the reverse end, I think it's the worst time for Cannonier to be getting a young, hungry savage like this. How old is Gregory Rodrigues, actually? Yeah, he's 32. He's not that young. He's, younger than Cannonier, that's for sure. But, God, he's really in the physical prime of his career. And RoboCop is a perfect nickname. He's a fucking savage in there, man. So, yeah, a tough fight, I think, if you're a Jared Cannonier fan. But who knows? Maybe this is the one to get him back on the horse, back in winning ways. Because if he loses this one, we really have to, talk about what's next for him. Because it's one thing to hang around and fight for money, to do this because you love it. But, yeah, if you're doing this to be a world champion, I don't know if that's a realistic thing anymore for Cannonier, someone who is over 40 now and has lost 2 in a row. So really, really interesting spot for Cannonier. The fan in me wants to see Cannonier go out there, turn back the clock and have a vintage performance. But unfortunately, as we all know, it's not the way these things usually go down. The rest of the card actually has some really, really good talent on it. There's some gems here. The co-main event, Yusuf Zalal, someone who has re-entered the UFC and has looked on fire. We talk about momentum, how much that does for fighters. Like, this guy has momentum right now. Come back into the UFC and he's just subbing everyone. Like, the guy had some questionable performances in that first run in the UFC, but ever since coming back, he's looked like an absolute world beater. Someone who's very skilled always, but has now just found that finishing instinct. And talking about timing of a matchup, Calvin Kattar on the other end is looking, pretty worse for wear in the last few fights. Like, he's looked very, very flat in his last few performances. And again, he gets, you just don't ever get a soft landing in the UFC, man. Like, to get Yusuf Zalal, someone who doesn't necessarily have a big name, but is as dangerous as a fight as you can have at featherweight, man. Like, a matchup like this, it's just that momentum versus the complete opposite. It's pretty clear to see Yusuf Zalal getting this fight to the ground. Kattar's wrestling has looked, even poorer than it has in the past, and he's never been a very good defensive wrestler. So I can see Yusuf Zalal getting there, getting to the back, either finding a finish again from the back, that rear naked choke, or grinding it out. I think it's his fight to lose, to be honest. Calvin Kattar, yes, he has good boxing, but the Moroccan devil, Yusuf Zalal, is crafty enough on the feet to even surprise Kattar. Like, Zalal's kicks are beautiful. That wheel kick he knocked down Peter Barrett with in his first UFC run was spectacular. Like, the Moroccan devil has sneaky striking as well as a really, really layered Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wrestling game. So, like I said, I think it's his fight to lose. Nazim Sadikov, Bonfim, that's another sleeper fight. Sadikov is getting overlooked a bit, I think, here, because Bonfim, he's a good fighter, but he's quite one-dimensional, and we've seen him dragged into deep waters and quit before. That's what Nazim Sadikov loves to do, someone who will never quit on himself. Coming off that draw with Slava Claus, that fight will show you he's never going to quit on himself. Like, he probably should have won that fight. Going into that, he was a big favorite, made some questionable decisions in there and got rocked. But those boys put on a fantastic fight. And Sadikov, someone who very rarely has tasted defeat, 9-1 coming in, trains with a great team, and is a grinder, man. Like, he needs to watch out for the submissions here at Bonfim, but if he can get a pace going on him early, mixing up the striking and the wrestling, I think he's going to drown him, man. Like, he's a really, really good fighter, and I don't think he gets the love that he deserves. So, another fight I am really, really interested in checking out there. Rodolfo Vieira should get a quick submission in a Petrovsky fight where Petrovsky's main weapons that he likes to utilize is wrestling. So if you're going to take down Rodolfo Vieira, prepare to get something snatched up real quick. Yeah, that's a pretty favourable matchup for Rodolfo there. And yeah, both Bonfim brothers, I think they both have really tough fights. Gabriel Bonfim, Chaos Williams is going to be a barn burner. Both of the Bonfim brothers are pretty juiced up on the odds here, and I really don't see why. They both have really tough fights. Yes, Chaos Williams is overmatched a little bit in the wrestling and the grappling, but the guy cracks, bro. And I know Bonfim is a big welterweight, but he has some really questionable striking defense. And if Chaos Williams lands one, like look what he did to Carlson Harris. Yes, he doesn't have the best chin, but he put him out clean, bro. Chaos Williams has big power in those hands, and he's just got that weird lanky sort of power, almost like Kevin Holland, but he's just a bit more technical with that boxing. So I really, really like him as an underdog in this spot. The first fight of the night, Chaos Williams, someone who, if he was a bit more consistent, I think he'd be a lot more famous and loved by fans, because the real ones know, but Chaos Williams, and just unfortunately, just been too inactive to really get that momentum rolling. Hopefully this is that moment where he can put a couple of KOs, pretty quick succession. That Carlson Harris one, beautiful knockout. And he'll have a lot of momentum, self-belief in the power in those hands coming into a matchup like this, where I think he'll need it, because if this fight goes to the ground, he's probably going to be outskilled and outsized down there as well. So he needs to keep this one standing, sprawl and brawl. But yeah, nonetheless, another fight I am really interested in checking out on this card. So guys, we've come to love, expect, have gratitude for even these Apex cards. I know name value wise over the last few weeks, the cards have been lacking a bit, but unfortunately when you have 700 fighters on the roster, that is just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So regardless, quite an interesting main event here. It's going to be a tough watch if Cannonier goes out and loses another one to, again, that up-and-coming prospect contender. But regardless, plenty of gems scattered across the card, like I said. Let me know what you guys think. Really interested to start doing some live watch-alongs for these cards as well. Let me know if you guys would be interested in watching something like that. I think it'd be sweet to be able to react live and hang out with some of you guys while the fights are going down as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would really, really appreciate it, and we will chat soon.